When you're going to meet with a customer, the first thing you're doing is you're thinking about what you got to say, what you got to do, and you have kind of a smile on your face, but it's lacking a genuine element.
I keep going back to, you stated that your problem is this, and the only way to solve that particular problem is if we actually do this.
What's going on in their space? Because I guarantee you're going to hear stuff that you never heard. So take away from the sale. The sale is coming.
So I think what I hear you saying is sales is the art of helping.
Ooh, the Modern Selling Podcast.
Welcome, Modern Selling Nation, and I'm excited because this is the very first time in 7+ years, 280-something episodes, that I get to have an actual TV host, author, brand developer, thought leader, and master sales trainer all in one person. I want to welcome my friend, Gail Kasper. Gail, welcome to the Modern Selling Podcast.
Mario, thank you for having me. I have been looking forward to this, so I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be there for your listeners, your viewers, all of that.
Now, I mentioned TV host, author, master sales trainer, brand developer, thought leader. We want to find out all about you because that's a lot in one. And I know that you've been a 2-time TEDx speaker as well. Like, really cool accolades and accomplishments. Congratulations to your success. So let's first start out. Tell us a little bit about you, Gail, your background, the company, and then I've got a very special question I want to ask you.
Okay. All right. I can't wait for that one. But Gail Kasper Television is the name of my organization. We are a master communications training company. So that's everything from public speaking to sales. I have worked with Fortune 500 and multi-billion-dollar companies, helping their teams kind of step the bar up in terms of excelling in front of a group or with their sales programs. So that's a little bit about what I do. And I started my world really lost, I would say. At 19 years old, I dropped out of college, wanted to be a television host at that time, but figured I was going to fail. So I dropped out of college, moved to California, started as a receptionist in an organization, and kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder, working 16-hour days, some of that time for free, to learn new skills, just so that I could advance in the business world. And it was when I got back to Philadelphia that I found myself more into the sales world in a training organization, fell in love with the idea of helping people achieve excellence in their life. And I was selling training programs and at the same time speaking, and then got fired. And overnight I was on my own with one client and had to build my business from scratch, from the very bottom. So I get what it is to be in sales, and I get the resiliency that you have to have, and you just got to be able to keep going through the process.
Fantastic. And also, recent author, congratulations. I think the book is called Sell Like a Cockatoo, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Sell Like a Cockatoo.
All right. And we're going to talk actually a little bit about that today, which is really exciting. And I cannot wait to understand what this cockatoo reference is made of. So I'd love to know more about that. But the book just released, so congratulations on that. Super exciting. And individuals can actually purchase it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or where can they go?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, it's pretty much anywhere. So look it up, Sell Like a Cockatoo, it'll come up and you can download it. You can download it or purchase the hard copy.
Great. All right. And I always ask all my guests this question, Gail. So I'm looking for something juicy. Got to give me something in the Modern Selling Nation to be able to laugh at, snicker at, whatever it is. But what I'm looking for is tell us something nobody knows about you, even if they're looking at any or all of your social profiles.
Two things I'll tell you. This way you can tell me which one's more juicy. Since the requirement is juicy, you might be like, that's not so juicy. Number one, I'm an introvert. So as much as I am in the public eye and I love to, share my tools and help people and get in front of groups, I really am an introvert. You'll see me sitting at home watching TV on a Saturday night, maybe not doing much of anything. I'm a very quiet person and shy. And the other thing is I met my first husband, my only husband. We're no longer married, but I met him through a wrong number. He called me by accident, and that led to a conversation, and we eventually met, and 4 months later we were married.
Wow. Okay. So, so he called her. Okay, let's go back. That's a good one. Rewind. That's juicy. That one's. I like that one. That was the juiciest one. So a random guy calls the phone. You answer. By the way, I don't even think I answer any phone number that's not programmed into my phone. It always, in fact, I think I have the iPhone setting set up so that if it's not in my caller ID, it automatically goes to voicemail. I think that's my setting. If I'm pretty positive, which makes me a bad buyer for anybody who wants to cold call me. And by the way, calling me 3 times in a row just makes me irritated and block your number. So don't do that.
Doesn't that make you feel bad though? Because they're sales reps. There's like I feel for them.
That's a great question, and we could get into that, but in a little bit. But my short answer is no, because even though we've trained over 100,000 reps across the globe, what we need to understand is that the modern buyer has changed. Have we? It means that I may be able to be found through email or social or text, but I'm not going to answer and interrupt my day through a phone call when I have it all planned out. I will schedule a call for sure if there's interest, but we as sales reps, our job has gotten much harder in the modern era because I have to determine if Gail likes to be able to have phone calls, Mario doesn't, but we'll take a email or we'll take a social media engagement, or Susie won't take any of them, but we'll watch a video, or Billy won't do any of those things, but we'll only respond to text messages or a referral, right? So our job has gotten so much more complex in that the modern buyer uses all channels, and we as sellers need to find the right channel that particular buyer engages on. That's my perspective, at least.
You know what though? But I agree with you 100%. Because when I get those sales calls, the first thing I'll say to them is send me an email, send me the info, and send me your calendar. And I can either get back to you and say, no, this isn't something I want to do right now. Check in with me 6 months, or I can schedule a time with you. But I, like you, do not want my day. Just like today's day and age in sales has changed. Respect my time. I will respect your time. I will show up for that call. If I promise to be there, I'm going to be there. But I agree with you. I think you're absolutely right. Sales reps need that. You need to play that message one more time.
Yeah. And actually interesting, we talk about pattern interrupt and how we shouldn't be afraid to do pattern interrupt. It doesn't mean that I tell reps, don't call. No, you do call, because guess what? You might find the Gail who picks up the phone and actually then goes and meets someone and marries them.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, it might actually happen. So let's go back to the original thing, which I kind of digressed on this one. So random call, talk to the guy, and then I want to know, how did he secure hey, let's meet up without even having ever met you, and how you were okay and comfortable with that?
All right. So here's the deal. I originally sent a package up to Toronto because I was trying to pursue business up there. So when I saw the area code 416 come through on my phone, that's Toronto. Now, what's the likelihood that someone from Toronto is going to call you by accident and it's a wrong number? That's like the oddest thing in the world. So I'm thinking, okay, this is the potential client. This is awesome. Hi, this is Gail. And then, of course, the conversation, it continued with, I thought you were a client. So we just started to talk. And I'm a believer that everybody meets for a reason. So we didn't meet, I would say, for a couple months. We actually stayed in communication through the phone. We would talk. But then he finally came to visit when I was in Philly. And like we just hit it off. We hit it off. And we're not married now, but he is by far one of the best things that ever happened in my life. He is a good friend to me and a good soul. And, to me, that was the reason we met. I believe we're both good souls. We would never hurt each other. We didn't through the divorce. I support him. He somewhat supports me. You know what I mean? Like it's different. He's involved. He's moved on. That's cool. I'm happy for him. But he's a very good soul. I was very lucky to have met him.
Very cool. Well, so I could see how that might happen, where you become friends, and then all of a sudden, hey, I'm coming into Philly. I'd love to be able to meet up, and then everything goes from there. All right, well, that makes
I
sense.
jumped over steps, so I'm
Now, y'all know, and talk about stars being aligned. That's pretty cool. So I have not had anybody on the show who has reported that, so that you're the first. You're the first in modern selling history. I love that story. Well, let's get into some meats and potatoes around this. You know, as I mentioned, we have sales leaders, we have sales reps, we have enablement leaders, marketing leaders, and business owners who listen into the Modern Selling Podcast. And we're going to spend some time talking about Sell Like a Cockatoo inside of here. But just briefly, like, rewind. How did you get started in sales?
Now, if you look in the airports and you see the people that are trying to get you to sign up for credit cards, that was my first introduction into the sales process, being on the front line, and I wouldn't say being aggressive, but not being shy about saying, hey, you're interested in signing up for a credit card. That was my first introduction to it. It also started, my father was a salesman. So I was born into a salesman who I watched just sell anybody anything, personally, professionally. Like, he just had that gift about him to move the sale forward. So that piece of the puzzle. And then, when I moved out to California, I was selling appliances for a short time. And then finally I went back to Philly, became a manager inside a company, fell in love with the idea of helping people achieve because I learned about leadership. That's when I moved on to the training organization where I would sell their training programs. So it was really like $100,000 training programs, having to cold call, get in the field, network, build alliances, go to association meetings, like really develop it full circle. And then when I was fired from that job because I got a TV show, I ended up on my own with one coaching client, and I had to build my business from there. So I took one coaching client, then that evolved to two people, and then a small department, and then multiple departments, and then that whole location, which was ADT Security Services. And even though they had a training university, they brought me through the Northeast, through all of their locations to train their sales teams, up in Canada, Kansas City. So I went to multiple locations there, and then built my portfolio from there, UPS, Cox Television, Comcast, and so forth. So it's been an evolutionary process. Nothing easy about it. Nothing was handed to me. It's been, it's a fight and it's a battle, and it's the development of your programs and the continuous development of programs. You know that. You talked about it at the beginning of this call. Sales isn't what it used to be. You have to be able to make adjustments. And that's one of the reasons that I developed Cockatoo, because it's no longer just a sales process. It is a sales process on steroids. The customer knows way too much.
So on that note, what do you think are some of the qualities that we need to have in today's selling climate, whether an individual is striving to get to the top of the corporate ladder, so from rep to manager, director, VP, etc., or striving to just blow out the numbers in their sales role?
Well, there's two major factors that I look at today. Is number one, we're dealing with people that have close relationships and ties with other vendors and suppliers. So breaking and increasing that relationship, which means take 7 to 9 times before you really get through that door, but elevating the relationship, meaning that you're coming up with different ways to build rapport. And if you don't break through right when you get in the door, that you continue to find ways to stay in the door and build that relationship. You always look at it as a positive, not a negative, meaning I didn't close it today, I will tomorrow. It's always going to be somewhere you're going to close that sale. Understanding the generational elements. And then when you get into questions, taking it to a level that is so deep that you're now becoming their partner in the process, whether it's helping them to build a business or whether you're getting to know someone in the front line and it's more of a retail sale.
Okay, gotcha. So are these the same qualities you think that would be for climbing the ladder as well?
If I want to climb the ladder of success and I'm in sales, number one, you want to get educated, meaning that don't just take for granted, just because I got great numbers, I should be moving up. Make sure you understand the tools of an effective leader and effective manager, because those are the things that are going to secure your position. What you were once doing, which is pursuing the business and building the business, is now different when you're managing people. So the tools you have to be able to relate to that team. So number one, I would say, is get educated and practice those tools. Meaning you're going to take in a team, you're going to build that team, You want to be in a spot that you can make sure you relay a strong message, that you have a good understanding of the sales process and can give them the tools they need to grow.
One of the things I love about the modern sales leader today, or not so modern sales leader, is I started selling first off almost 27 years ago, and that was for a software company on the selling EDI software on the AS400, Unix, and mainframe. And so that actually takes you back a little bit of time. Interesting when I talk to sales leaders who are generally in the 45 and older category. That's most of our sales leaders, 45 and older. So a sales leader would say, "Hey, go connect with them on LinkedIn." And the question is, well, how do you connect with them on LinkedIn? Well, you just hit the connect button. And then the question is, well, what value did you bring to the conversation? What would make someone connect with you? Shouldn't it be personalized? How do you personalize it? And then you get the deer in the headlight look, and they stare at you like, well, isn't that kind of obvious? Well, tell them you want to book an appointment. No, that's not how it works today. Not in social, not on email, not through a video. Or another one is just go create a prospecting video. Great, no problem. Use a free tool like Loom or Hippo Video or OneMob. No problem. You can use any of those tools. But then the video comes across on email with a nice, beautiful thumbnail. It has a great background like the one I've got. And then you've got a big play button sitting right on their face. And the whole idea behind video is that you want to be able to see not only the eyes, but the smile, because we're using two senses at this point, visual and auditory. And so these are the two things that we need to combine. But if you've got that big play button on someone's face on that thumbnail that they sent across, you've missed the whole point of creating a video, something so simple. And so I think, as you talk about using tools and technologies, leaders need to understand. I recently heard of a leader that took over a business development organization, and they were head of marketing. Well, the first thing that I would have done, since I had never sold, never cold called, never booked an appointment ever in my entire career, is actually go do a day in the life of, and actually see what people do. But as I understand it, this leader still to this day has never done a day in the life of. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. How can you lead an organization if you don't know how to use the tools, if you don't know how to manage their job, if you can't give them advice, you can't coach them how to be better? That doesn't make sense. Now, maybe you're qualified to take over the leadership role and get the organization back on track and measure it through metrics and KPIs and, the right training and the right goal orientation and the right trajectories and, career pathing. That's probably all within your skill set. But at the end of the day, they're designed to book appointments. This is what we're training them to do. Do you know how to do it? When was the last time you booked an appointment? And so I think that's an important element when you talk about this, understanding tools, but it's tools and skill set. What do you think about that?
And it's just interesting because you're taking it from the perspective that they come into a leadership role, but they really haven't done the job before. They haven't been that salesperson before to really say that they built the traction to get into that role. And I find that vital. You want to climb the corporate ladder? I find it vital. Put yourself on the phone, put yourself in front of the computer, put yourself on LinkedIn. Like, you've got to know what your team is doing and what's happening and what the results of that are for you to best help them. How can you help them get solutions if you don't even know what they're up against? You can't, and one of the things that I tell teams to do, because I understand the prospecting thing. I mean, if you knew the number of sales reps that would rather deal with a customer issue than get on a phone or prospect for new business, you probably heard that a million times on your end. Well, then find alternate ways to build the business. One of the things that we're missing today is this freaking phone. We're behind it all the time. We got to get out and get in front of people. There are associations. There are trade shows. This is where the real relationships are built. So if you're not on the phone and cold calling, okay, but you better be doing something that's building relationships and getting your foot in the door somehow. And even then, you know what, Mario? You got to know how to handle yourself when you're talking to those people. You've got to have a plan. You can't just be like, hey, I'm Gail and I work for ABC company and It's got to be with purpose. Who are these people? How can you help them? How can you direct them? Perhaps it's an alliance. You both have access to the same customer base. Awesome. Thumbs up. But you've got to know what you're doing. There's got to be a plan in place.
No doubt, for sure. Now, let's take some time to talk about this concept of Cockatoo. Where did the concept Cockatoo come from? Obviously, the name of the book is Sell Like a Cockatoo, so I'm very interested in that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Cockatoos can dance. And I was looking really for, okay, what's an animal that dances? Now, cockatoos also build 60-year relationships. So when I think of today's sales world, okay, first of all, we need to be able to move and shift and adjust with the customer. Our confidence level has to be so high that the customer believes in us so much that they're willing to move with us and build that momentum. So we have to have a strong understanding of body language, tone of voice, words, build that relationship. And then, of course, build that 60-year connection with the customer. So since cockatoos had all those qualities, it just became Sell Like a Cockatoo. And then I came to find out that cockatoos are loud. And, when either a sales rep is fighting for a sale, fighting for a customer, or making a sale, they have that quality and they need consistency. They cannot be left alone to their own vices because they will create havoc. Just like sales reps, they need to be monitored, to be pushed, to be prospecting, to be doing the things they need to do on a day-to-day basis to be successful.
So let's go back to the dancing part. So all sales reps need to be good dancers.
Right. I'm sure you are. I mean, you're doing that right now. This is like a dance. So, yeah, like you want to be able to read the. And I'm going to get back to something you said at the very beginning, which was really so powerful, and people minimize it. The smile. When you're going to meet with a customer, the first thing you're doing is you're thinking about what you got to say, what you got to do, and you have kind of a smile on your face, but it's lacking a genuine element. And it's lacking an investment in being present. We want to make sure that we have that same presence. Like I felt that when we first, Zoom came on. I think I was thinking about something. I wasn't in the smile mode. And I want to always be that present person that's, lets people know, hey, I'm excited to be here with you. Because it gets people to drop their guard immediately, especially if they're in a space of stress. So the smile is like critical. And we learn that from the times when we were a baby. Our parents connected to us through a smile. We connect to others through a smile. So don't minimize the basics with everything we do. That's my big message in that.
And if you think about the dynamics and the personality of cockatoos, or many parrots, that is, you mentioned that they're social animals. Don't leave them alone. They'll wreak havoc, right? And I think that's super important that we recognize that as sellers, we may not be an extrovert, and it's okay to be an introvert. And we have very many successful introvert sellers, such as yourself. But what we do understand and recognize is that we get our vibe, our mojo through engaging with customers and helping them to solve problems. So like that cockatoo, you've got to be able to have the engagement. You've got to be able to have the camaraderie. You got to be able to have the friendship. I love that analogy. And very specifically, one of the things that I think cockatoos and many parrots are known for is repeating, rinse and repeating. Could be good, could be bad. Some of the things that we hear out of the bird's mouth. But if we are striving for excellence, then we're looking at what's working and we're repeating. And I think those are some interesting concepts that you brought up from the cockatoo. Now, what I do want to talk about is what do you see as some of the biggest challenges in selling today? But before you answer that specific question, we're going to listen to this important message from our sponsor. Imagine having the power to identify companies visiting your website, track their behavior in real time, and seamlessly integrate it all with your CRM. Leadfeeder is not just a tool, it's your secret weapon for efficient and targeted lead engagement. What sets Leadfeeder apart? It's the ability to provide detailed insights into visitor behavior, helping your sales team prioritize efforts and close deals faster. With customizable notifications and lead scoring, Leadfeeder is changing the game. Ready to revolutionize your approach to leads and deals? Head over to leadfeeder.com for your free demo today. That's LeadFeeder.com. Leadfeeder.com. Don't miss out on the future of successful lead generation with Leadfeeder. Now, right before that break from our sponsor, I asked you a question about what do you see as some of the biggest challenges in selling today? Take some time to answer that question.
Yeah. Number one, stop selling. Stop selling. Back up. Slow down. Mario, you said it best. You're there to help this customer. So if you back up and take control of the call, and what I mean by that is say, hey, Mr. Customer, a couple things I want to cover today, but the last agenda item is I want to make sure this is the right fit for you. So now we've positioned ourselves that we're not ready to jump. We're actually kind of like saying, hey, we pulled back on the sale, and you all know about takeaway when it comes to objections. Now people are dropping their guard and saying, oh, okay, they're not here to sell me. And I'm not just saying that as a tactic. I'm saying it, believe it, meaning you have your heart in really getting to know this customer, not just talk about your product and services. What's going on in the world? What are the challenges that they're currently facing? What is it they need in their life to make life a little bit easier for them? What's going on in their space? Because I guarantee you're going to hear stuff that you never heard, that you never thought you'd hear. So take away from the sale. The sale is coming. You can figure out, okay, I've got 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever that time frame is with the customer. You're going to find out that ahead of time. So you can't take a lot of space to just chit-chat. I get it. But come off of being the hawk to just attack. Let's get to know these people so that we can build a strong relationship. That's the biggest thing I see out there.
So I think what I hear you saying is sales is the art of helping.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Mario. Thank you. That's a great way to say it.
And I think when we keep, for example, I'm right in the middle of an opportunity right now where I have a leader who has identified that the very problem that we solve, prospecting, getting more appointments, is at the top of his list. But he's challenged by being able to figure out what's the right solution to apply here. Is it more training on cold calling, on emailing, on LinkedIn engagement, on video, and my answer is it's all of the above. It's not one or the other. It's all of the above. And so we have to take the time to really build our training around helping your sellers to get better at A, then B, then C, then D. And by the way, the transformation process is not get into a room and then everybody knows how to do it. No, it is over the course of time. And so I keep going back to, you stated that your problem is this. And the only way to solve that particular problem is if we actually do this. And so we keep going back to the problem. And I think if sales reps really sold to the business pain and business problem, and how they solve that problem is now what's in question, not whether or not they found the problem is the question, right? How they particularly solve that problem through technology or service or whatever it might be. So we really have to go back to, I think, Gail, that, sales is the art of helping. And now thinking about, let's presume that we are focused as a helper to our customers. What do you think will help a sales team close more deals?
Yeah, and I'm going to put this out there because it's very real. It's very hard to be in the mode of a helper when you're thinking, okay, I got to pay my bills. I got to get this closed. I've got kids into school. I've got financial challenge. It's very hard to be in that space, but it's going to get you there quicker. So I think we always want to see the bigger picture, not the smaller picture. We can really get into that helper mode. So to close the sale now, okay, are we asking the questions that are going to get us there? If there is a possibility that our product delivers a return on investment, have we figured out where there was a problem in the past and what it cost that person or company in the past to make that transition? What is the value proposition of our organization? So what is it that we are so great at doing that nobody can say no? And how proficient are you at portraying and saying that? That's critical because I work with a lot of companies that are like, oh, everyone knows us. Everyone does not know everything that that company is about and what it's done. I guarantee you that. They don't. Some of these companies have different divisions. They don't know all the divisions. How would another company that's going to buy from them know everything that they can know about the company? So never assume that because it's a major organization that everybody knows it. Make sure that your value proposition is on point, that it isolates return on investment opportunities, a customer experience that was successful, and make sure that when you get to objections, you have at least 2 value statements. So you're not just going to say, oh, the price is too high. Well, where do we need to be to negotiate it? You're going to make sure you come back with value twice before you even consider bending it all with price. Because if you bend on price right away, there is no value to your company. It's done. You fight for it no matter what. You always, always fight for your company. If you've got to back down in the long run, then you do. But you never do it right away. You go to battle in a nice way. Very nice. Happy, warm, fuzzy.
Battle, but in a happy, warm, fuzzy kind of way. That is very true. And, as I think about it,
It's just that I get intense sometimes, Mario, and I don't want people to be thinking, okay, they got to pound it, right into the customer. No, you don't.
it's funny though, as you said it, I was thinking, true. Wow. How would I say that in any other way? I don't think there is another way to say it, which is you got to go to battle in a nice, happy, warm, kind of fuzzy kind of way.
Thank you.
That's a good one. So fair, in terms of your feedback, in terms of, closing more deals. Is there anything else that you could think of that sales teams today should be doing to help them close, more deals faster and or bigger deals?
All right. So, number one, Cockatoo is all about the sales process on steroids. So, meaning you're taking every piece of that process up to another level. You're having multiple ways to build relationships, multiple ways to ask questions. You're learning your value proposition, your product, as though the designer himself created it, and you're ready for objections. So you're carrying that whole process through. But the other piece of the puzzle is some patience in the process too, meaning that get the fact that it may not happen right. The systematic attitude development technique, which means you go in to see customers, maybe you go back again, maybe you follow up again, but you start to lose your momentum as you do that. Your goal is to have that same positive energy, momentum every time you go in the door, to understand that it's not about you, it's about where they are. Sometimes they're not ready for you. Every once in a blue moon, you might come across somebody that's like, oh, hey, I was thinking about calling your company. Well, that means they're ready for change. But if they're not ready for change, we have to help them be ready for change. And the way that that happens is through the building of the relationship.
And how can an individual build this relationship in a virtual environment?
That's hard. That is very difficult to do because, first of all, you've got to create interest. What are you going to do that's going to create interest? So, meaning you might spark on my end, I never just spark the conversation, like meaning through virtual, through LinkedIn, through email. It's not just one way. It's going to be a phone call after that. If it's a serious enough opportunity that I want to get into, there's going to be something they get in the mail. So I'm going to have different touch points for different things. And I'm going to teach my teams or sales teams to do the same thing. You're never just doing it one way because the world is oversaturated with information. I could go on my LinkedIn profile, and you know this, there's a ton of people that are trying to sell me that. There's a ton of sponsored opportunities saying this would be what's best for you, Gail. There are so many, I don't know what's best for me anymore. Because every opportunity says they're the best. So which one is right? So it's a saturation. You have to be able to differentiate yourself. Differentiate yourself is the biggest thing.
I think also that to differentiate yourself in a virtual environment, you've got to become more of a personality.
I agree with that.
And let me articulate this. Some of our personalities are a little bit more laid back, a little bit just relaxed, kind of like this. Maybe we speak in a monotone voice. But when we show up on a virtual meeting, we've got to be able to be expressive and let people feel what we're feeling. And the difference between Now I'm talking like, a normal person, like if we were in a room together just like this, and I may give a couple smiles, I may give eye movement every once in a while.
Well, that's not you at all. I know that. You are Mr. Personality.
You can see. And so I think one of the things that we have to really work on is inside of a virtual environment is to be expressive and to be able to bring that personality into a virtual room where someone feels like I am engrossed in you. I am just like tunnel vision straight to you, and you and I are totally in sync. And that's hard to do in a virtual environment. But, some techniques are that we're looking directly at the camera, just like I'm doing right now, as opposed to my camera's over here and I'm looking at my computer, where I keep turning this way. You can see I'm looking at the camera. Yeah. Well, what about and then I go back to looking this way, and you're looking at the side of my face, right? So it's one of those things where we've got to have the ability to really engage that person in a virtual environment and to draw them in. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would no, again, you went to Zoom, I went to LinkedIn. So go into Zoom. I'm with you on that. I call it from the shoulders up. And I do address that in Cockatoo too, from the shoulders up, meaning that you want to be well lit. Like you're like the poster child for this, Mario. Like you're well lit, you've got a great background, you got the smile going, nice colors with the shirt. It's just an awesome feel with you being in front of me. I know that you're present. I know that you're there and you're listening, you're paying attention. Your phone isn't buzzing and you're not like looking over to the side. There are no distractions. I want people to be thinking about the fact that when you're in a room with someone and there's a distraction, like somebody comes in with pizza, everybody can turn around to look. When you're on Zoom, the person that you're talking to cannot see what's going on in your room. So you want to eliminate all distractions, nothing that's going to take you away from the person in front of you. If you want to take notes, say to them, do you mind if I write a few things down? Just so they understand you're not working on your calendar on the side. You want them to be engaged with the process. So no distractions, great background, fully engaged, shoulders up. You look the part, you sound the part, you feel involved. I agree with you 100%.
Love that. Well, let's go into talking about the future of selling. What do you see as some of the things that we'll encounter as part of the future?
It's interesting because I think we're going to go backwards. I think that I'm certain Zoom, that world is going to stay. But I believe that because people are so out of touch communication-wise, that the associations, the trade shows, the networking, the connections, the live human being, the live interaction is going to be magnified. I would say that every sales rep out there today, elevate your communication skills, become the very best, get out from behind your telephone and start to engage with people. Limit your time, as a matter of fact. If you have to schedule your time with your phone versus being out and about, networking, getting to know people, building that network of people that can support you and you can support them. This world is going to definitely solidify with relationships, and you want to be key and you want to be at the cornerstone of any potential customer contact.
There you go. And when we think about the future of selling, I also think about several things. Number one, tools, technology, AI, and the future of selling is not automated AI SDRs, rather, or prospectors or engagement. And I think one of the big challenges we're seeing is that sales leaders want to automate everything. Now, I may be wrong in my prediction. I may be wrong in that we are, what's the word I'm looking for? That we may, fly message, may not even survive, because I predict that sales reps and leaders want to automate the crap about everything. They want to automate the liking of posts. They want to automate the writing of actual comments. They want to automate the email. They want to automate put in, these variables that are AI written variables. They want to automate the connection requests and just do everything on automation so that they can just sit back and wait for the inbound lead to come in. That's not sales.
And they're still waiting.
Yeah, and they're still waiting. Exactly. Now, do enough of it, right? Do enough of it, and you might have a certain set of results. But that is not what we should be doing. More spray and pray is not the answer. more personalized touch points, engagement, outreach. For example, if I was selling to you, Gail, I would absolutely incorporate something from Sell Like a Cockatoo. I would get the book, or I would at least go to Amazon and take a highlight of something, or at least find a clip of something. And I would reach out and I would show you that I knew you, show you that I knew you. The idea is to be interesting, you must be interested. And this is where I think the future will go. And I want to encourage sales leaders, more automation is not better. Automating the crap out of the entire process does not yield better results. And doing it more times in a day also does not yield better results. In fact, the numbers show that even on LinkedIn alone, we used to get about a 15 to 20% engagement rate on things like in-mails. Well, now because we've automated the crap out of it, we literally are getting probably less than 2%, just like email. How sad is that the social media platforms are no longer as effective as they used to be because we figured out a way to automate this stuff?
It's terrible. It really is. Like, again, first of all, I don't know about you, but everyone on social media apparently is rich and in a perfect relationship. Except me, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has, the perfect relationship. Their life is wonderful, apparently. Islands, everything. But it's so saturated that it has lost its momentum. I love what you're saying about personalizing. Like, whatever touch point you're going to do, you have to personalize it. And if I could just add to that, that means effort. There are no shortcuts to what it is that we do. And sometimes we want those shortcuts. We want it to be easier, so we just send a quick message out. You've got to take the time. You've got to put the time into it.
So all of you, we're running out of time here. I'm going to share my screen and show you something, Gail. And this is what I posted today on social media. For all of you that are looking at this, what you can't see is a social media post. And it reads, when you ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm functioning. This is what I mean. And there's a picture of a broken sink. All the porcelain is broken around, and it's just like the little drain, and the water faucet absolutely is working. The water is coming out, right? But this is what I mean. And this is called functioning, right? This is functioning. And so for those of you looking at the screen right now, you can see what I'm talking about. But what I think we need to start thinking about is how to not just function inside of sales, and how to really engage and build build an entire sink around what we are trying to do, and engage with our buyers in a different way, not just function.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And believe me, I get it. Again, as sales representatives, even as sales leaders, it's challenging sometimes. Sometimes you feel like that's sick, and that means just resilience. You got to keep going with the process.
Fantastic. Well, Gail, if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the right way? Are you on X? Are you on Twitter? Well, X and Twitter are the same thing. Sorry. Are you on X, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook? What's the best way to get engaged with you?
You can go to any of them, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. On Facebook and Twitter, or X, it's Gail Kasper Fans. On Instagram, it's Gail Kasper. You can also go to gailkasper.com. And I definitely want to let your audience know that I have a very special download for them. It's the 3 most overlooked sales tools that close more deals. And that's at offer.gailkasper.com/podcast-gift. And I will make sure that you get the link for that, Mario, so that all of your listeners and viewers can get a copy of that.
We'll put that into the show notes for sure. Gail, we're coming up here on time, but I do have a very special last question for you, and that is your all-time favorite movie. What is it?
Shawshank Redemption.
I think that's the winner across 7 years of Modern Selling Podcast history. That is the #1 movie that everyone says. That's okay.
Are you serious? Really?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's probably been said. I would venture to guess, if I were to go back to 280 something episodes, I would say maybe close to 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and I like to be different. Oh, that's terrible. Can I give another answer?
Well, you don't have to be different. That's okay. It's talk about a movie that's impactful, right?
What is yours? You were asking everybody, what is yours?
Well, my movie, and I've said this before, is The Goonies. The Goonies. Back from when we were children, we watched The Goonies. It was an episode of trial and triumph and, to save the neighborhood. And I loved that movie. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I still think it is today because it's the never quit, never die, never give up attitude. And with that in mind, hey, we're coming up here on time, but I don't want anybody to turn that dial quite just yet. I want you to listen to this important message right now. Thanks for listening to the Modern Selling Podcast. Please do me a huge favor and give the Modern Selling Podcast a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Oh, and don't forget, if you'd like to save 20 hours or more in a month and increase your productivity, go right now and download Fly Message, that's flymsg.io, for free. It's your free text expander and personal writing assistant. Hey, thanks for listening in, and until the next episode, good selling.